Didn't you like hearing me take a big old drink? Greetings, groovy people! This is the self-proclaimed Blue Dragon. And it's been a hot minute since I had a video. Y'all knew this was coming. I did do a warning video. You can check it out in the iCard up there. But I am first doing a soft reset by getting back into my Q&A videos. So that's what this one here is. In the background, we got more of the same. I'm coloring some of the cover for Time Warp, which is the name of the act. I don't want to really give it a number because it's the one that's updating on Comic Fury, and that number is actually going to be changing once I finally catch up with the revamp of my free, not safe for work webcomic, Dark Horse. You can check it out at all the links down in the description. If you like what I do, I've got Subscribe Star as well as Patreon and all that jazz. More about that at the end of the video. As I am getting back into starting to make videos again, I'm going to be not changing a lot, but I'm going to be changing a little bit here and there. I don't want to be taking on too much of a workload because in addition to updating an entire act on Comic Fury and updating acts on Webtoons, those are two different comic acts around 25, 23 some odd pages a piece. I also do I'm the team lead for the Comic Fury Zine, which the Not Safe for Work Zine update, it's going to be coming out July 31st of this year. That's this week, folks, and I do plan to do a video tour of that and try to advertise it somehow. More on that later. But I've got a lot going on, and that's not even counting things that are like within my family realm and the possibility that I may be picking up a part-time job soon in the near future. Sorry, I'm drinking this like Ace apple cider. I saved one from the weekend so that I would have something of a sweet treat, but a lot of things are changing in my life, but I am going to be trying to reintroduce at least one video a month, if not two. It might be a Wednesday video, and it might be a Friday night video, just depending on what I feel like doing, as has kind of always been the case with this channel. While I certainly want to draw an audience, my main concern is to talk about the things that I like to talk about and enjoy, and hopefully derive some sense of motivation and inspiration in other people. So the main thing is for me to talk about like my comic or like art in general or different things that kind of get me going or that I'm interested in, but also trying to introduce other people to different things that I find interesting in hopes that they find it interesting too. So that aspect of the channel isn't really going to change. I still don't give a shit about censorship. I'm going to cuss in my videos. There are probably going to be nudes here and there sometimes, you know, stuff of that nature. So if you're not an adult, please don't subscribe to this channel. By the way, welcome to I got a couple subscribers. I haven't been doing anything. I thank you. I don't know where you came from, but thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this. And I think I'm gonna drop the word of Wednesday because as much as I like to be, I guess, educational, I like to use words that I don't, well, sometimes they're in my normal vocabulary. Sometimes I look them up for these videos specifically. But, well, it's not a massive pain in the ass to come up with that. Sometimes I'm kind of jumping through hoops trying to use new words, and I certainly do encourage people to learn new words and to create new words. I mean, that's what's great about a living language, is that there's so many different dialects and different ways that people use a language. So I'm definitely encouraging you to go out and, like, you know, learn new things, but unless I feel like it, I probably won't be doing a Word of Wednesday in the future. I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but it was just kind of a little pet thing that I started doing, and I don't really think anybody cares about it, but it doesn't mean that I don't support that idea of learning new things. But I guess I'm just gonna be a lazy turd. That's all I got to say about that. I don't know about disclaimers and stuff. I already said adults only, so if you watch my channel, keep an open mind. I do try to be open myself, and I don't try to be insulting to anyone, so if I'm insensitive or something, give me the benefit of the doubt. I'm just a fucking normal Joe, And sometimes, you know, things need to be brought to their attention so that they can improve. So anyway, this month I'm going to be focusing on time warp questions from Comic Fury, as well as questions from my patrons. This is one of the tier rewards. I actually bumped it down from being the $10 reward to the $5 reward tier, I think, because I don't really feel these videos are worth $10. Way to advertise yourself. I'm in my own corner, believe it or not, but, you know, I like to be real, too. So, I switched things up on my Patreon. If anyone's interested, you can go to the page. That link's going to be down in the description. But the $10 level is now, like, the monthly wallpaper, and then the Q&A is the $5. And then, like, the $3 level, $3 level is the blog and stuff that I do, and then like $1 gets you early access, which I've been updating a page a day on Webtoons with a revamp, and I try to get those done throughout the week. I usually will post Monday's page on Monday, but then I like have Tuesdays the day before, and then I get them done as fast as I can. So they're up there early. Early access is just the $1 tier, so, or whatever the equivalent is in whatever nation you live in, and however that translates. One more update before we get into the Q&A. I'm gonna have information on the Nature's Wonders zine that I participated in. The dude in charge of that has been getting everything together. He sent out the PDFs, which I cannot share. I will not be sharing any of that art with y'all until 6 months after the Kickstarter, but he's getting that stuff ready to go. So that's something else that I definitely will be talking about and advertising once that zine is up on the Kickstarter, because like looking through the zine, like God, everyone's pieces, like there's poetry, there's like there's a short story, there's comics, there's a really cool comic with a crow in it. I love crows. We got crows in our front yard a lot. I'm probably not supposed to feed them, but sometimes I do. But yeah, so that's a really cool project. Another project that I had been working on earlier in the year, and that's going to be coming out very soon. I know I teased about it in this video in the upper right hand corner. So when I get more information on that, I will definitely include that in a video here, even if I just do a quick upload of nothing special, no video, or something really quick, you know. Okay, so I'm just gonna get started on the questions now. First one, why did you pick the title Time Warp over Back to the Future or Back to the Present? When I was over on Comic Fury, I did like a little scroll update on the timeline of what's going on and when things happen. And at the end of that, I said that the next act was going to be titled Back to the Present, working title, something of that nature. It's kind of like a throwback to Back to the Future, but it's technically the present in my comic. But the reason why I changed it, there were two reasons. First off, you know, even though I'm a kid of the 80s, Back to the Future is not my fucking favorite movie. I mean, you see the hippie aesthetic. I dig like the 60s and 70s film a hell of a lot more than 80s. Now that doesn't mean that I don't love 80s films. I definitely do have a nostalgia for that. But Back to the Future was never really my favorite movie. I didn't even see that until I was in college. Even though my sister had, like, because my sister's older than me. I think we're kind of, if you're gonna, like, get into the stupid labels that are kind of immaterial, I think technically I would be considered a geriatric millennial in that I identify quite a bit with Generation X and, like, a lot of that media, a lot of those pulp culture references, because I did have an older sister and, like, that was the shit that we were into. We had the horrifying kids movies when I was growing up. I wish they would bring that back, like, you know, Return to Oz, Never-Ending Story was pretty torture. It's Old Yeller, even older than that. I mean, I think that kind of stuff kind of, you know, as much as everyone likes to call millennials snowflakes, I really feel like a lot of that shit kind of toughened us up, as well as my mom's generation. But the long and the short of it is, I really liked Time Warp better because, one, I absolutely love Rocky Horror Picture Show. I was fortunate enough that no offense to theater kids out there, but I didn't hang out with theater kids, so my entire consumption of this film and that pop culture was on my own terms, and it wasn't driven into the ground. Like, I feel people tend to overdo things, and while I definitely love the idea of, like, during Halloween, one of my friends and I in college would sometimes go to like one of the theater productions of Rocky Horror Picture Show, but it wasn't overdone, and so like some people got really, in my generation I feel, got really tired of the Rocky Horror Picture Show just because of all the how it got super popular. But for me, it was just I kind of did it on my own terms. I didn't have people shoving shit down my throat all the time, and Tim Curry looks hot in heels. So yeah. And also it was kind of, I don't know, it was nice seeing, for me, it was nice seeing a motley crew of different people that were like, they weren't straights, right? They were freaks, and not in like a mean sense, but like in the 70s, the straights were like the straight-laced people versus the hippies and the freaks. Although I wouldn't necessarily call Rocky Horror Picture Show like, I don't think those characters are really freaks, they're aliens, but you get the picture. It was counterculture. Counterculture is the term I'm looking for, because most people aren't going to kind of get or appreciate the terminology from back in the day. So let's just say it was very counterculture. I felt super cool watching it. It was great seeing bisexual characters, and they were unabashed about it. And I mean, Tim Curry is always great as a villain. Holy shit, legend! There we go, getting back to the scary shit for kids. Holy shit, there's a butt shot in there, by the way. You can totally see Tom Cruise's butt when he's swimming. Yeah. Anyway, moving along. Also, Time Warp was far more concise. Did I say that? It was shorter. And I think it sounded better, so I liked it. Plus, I could do like the spirally cover. I'll show the finished product at the end of the video. Next. Did Wren's parents give them weapons and boots in addition to backpacks and tents? Okay, that's referring to this page here. There's this whole scene going on where I have to establish that they are given some tools, some equipment that they're taking with them to the present, since, you know, Shimiko can do all kinds of shit, but the others are pretty much human, so they're gonna have to have resources and shit. And I think the boots comment is because Rena is definitely still barefoot. She does have a pair of shoes in her backpack, which, you know, I'm not gonna like point it out. She's just gonna have shoes on when I get to it, but yeah, she's totally barefoot in the backyard. Weapons? No, they're having to keep all this on the down low, so they'll probably have like a Bowie knife or some shit in the bag. I don't know if I'm gonna show it. Maybe I'll have someone strap it around their waist. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Odysseus will get it. Who knows? But yeah, they do not have weapons, and it's going to be coming up in this act, but they are going to have like a teeny tiny montage of them practicing some of their magic. So they really didn't need to, they didn't want to like be too suspicious with their parents, you know. It's funny though how Wren manipulates her. Oh, it's not funny, but she has gotten her parents to like get all like the tent and like all this shit ready to go for like their trip, and like they just think they're gonna be hanging out in the backyard, but nah, they're going places. They are going places soon. Next question. I think this person was a little tongue-in-cheek, or maybe they were salty, I don't know. But, this page here, these two pages, dude asked, he's a friend of mine, by the way, so there's no, like, hard feelings or anything, but why differentiate between eco-terrorist and terrorist, essentially saying they're the same thing, which they are, to a degree, although eco-terrorism, they tend to not attack people, but, you know, it is still terrorism, period. It is terrorism. There's no bones to pick about it. However, the reason why I differentiate between that is, one, I remember when I was growing up, like, we differentiated between that. There is a difference between the Monkey Wrench Gang and what, the Oklahoma bomber did. Those are two completely different types of domestic terrorism. They're still terrorism, and they are still bad, but what the hell was his name? Was it Timothy McVeigh? Oh my god, I watched that Billy Connolly's Route 66, and when he visited the memorial for the people who lost their lives in the Oklahoma City bombings, oh my god, like, I was crying. God, I remember when that happened too, because I was pretty young, but I remember hearing about that. But at any rate, the reason why Wren specifies eco-terrorists is because that's specifically what the book is talking about. That's what this book kind of influenced, for better or for worse. For worse. But I also had to differentiate between that. I mean, besides that being how, at least in my small town, the way we talked, we differentiated between the two things. Maybe that was different in different parts of the world. So I'm probably showing my naivete. But I also had to differentiate between eco-terrorism and genetic terrorism, because the whole thing that spawns the war in Dark Horse is the genetic terrorist group that the government calls the Faction, but that they call themselves Gift. So I wanted to make sure that it was, one, different, and two, that's just kind of the way we talked when I was younger. So that's why there is a differentiation between just run-of-the-mill terminology for terrorist and the specific, I don't want to say genre, that's probably the wrong word for it, but the specific type of terrorist that was influenced by the Monkey Wrench Gang. But let's see here. So next question. I know it's hard to tell, but are these Wren's parents? In reference to this page, this wasn't like a serious question. I think they just needed a soft reminder, because I don't know if Act 6, my redrawn version, was up yet when this person read. So they didn't really get to see Wren's parents very much. But yes, this is Rena's mom and dad. Wren's mom is half Japanese. She's got cousins who live in Japan. Wren does not really know Japanese. She knows a tiny bit, but they don't really travel to visit extended family very much. And so Rena, being like only 1/4 Japanese, she takes more after her father than her mother. So when you see Ryan, I have him looking a little bit more like his mother. He's got the freckles. He has black hair too that he bleaches, but that's going to be coming up in a future scene that's getting ready to post pretty soon here. That was a long way of saying yes, those are her parents. Okay. Next question. What's Kana's motivation for going to the future, for moving forward? And this is a really good, I mean, they're all good questions, but this one's pretty good. The way Kana, like, what she's thinking is, until, with Rena having almost died in the previous act, she is at a point where she figures that unless she agrees to go and deal with this future, with this demon, then they're just gonna keep coming back to the past. And while, of course she can believe Shimiko that what has come to pass cannot be changed, I mean, I'm sure she doesn't want to, what she's thinking is, this has been too many close calls. If I don't go and deal with this, what happens if Shimiko is wrong? Because she doesn't really have a lot to go off of with Shimiko. All she knows is that Shimiko has a touch of death and she seems to be extremely powerful, but she doesn't know Odysseus very much. She doesn't know Shimiko very much. All she knows is that they have been attacked and she is trying to be more adult than she is and face this future head on, if only to make sure that what happens to her does turn out right. I mean, she's got a lot of insecurities going on, which she hasn't really had a lot of time to process yet. It's also a way for her to go to the future and see if what's being said is, well, not future, but present. It's the present day. The future hasn't happened yet, which I know is confusing. But it's also, she doesn't know whether she should, who should she believe? Yuli, Keisuma, Rowena, Shimiko? Who the fuck should she believe? She's got so much information just being kind of inundated on her to something that she has not lived or experienced yet. And yet, the effects of the future are catching up with them in the past. So her motivation is to do her duty, get the fuck to the future, find out what the hell's going on, and put a stop to it so that if this pandemic that is going to be coming on is real, which she's starting to believe that it is legitimate, with, you know, all the magic and shit that's been bombarded at her. You know, it's hard to believe, but she's being open-minded about it. She wants what's left of her summer and her time to be hers, because she knows, or has a suspicion from what everyone is saying, that her and their and the world's lives, everyone's lives, are going to change, and this is her last summer that she's going to have. And if she doesn't fucking go and do something, then she's not even gonna have that. If that makes sense. I know that this is kind of like, I'm expositing quite a bit, but that's because, you know, that's what I can do in these videos. As you read the comic, I'm going to have more and more of this stuff revealed. Even the page that posted this past Friday on July 23rd is kind of showing you some of her internal dialogue. We get to see a little bit of how she's jealous of the relationship that Reina has with her parents in this act. We're seeing that, you know, she's nervous about trusting Odysseus and even taking his hand if what Rowena and the others have said is true, and even Keisuma, which to be honest, Keisuma's not necessarily lying about some of the things that have gone on, but it doesn't mean that she's not using the truth in a twisted way or omitting details. So I'm trying to show that Kana has all of this weighing on her mind, but that things are moving so fast she really hasn't had a lot of time to reflect yet. And I'm hoping that once we get everyone to the present or the future, the present time where Odysseus left is where they're going to pick up. Once they have some time there's going to be evenings, you know, when they're traveling, there's going to be time when they have to kind of reflect, and I'm going to try to reveal a little bit more about that, because it's in those quiet times really that you have time to think. When all this shit is being bombarded at them, they haven't really had too much time to think, like Kana did when she was at her parents' house when they were having dinner and everything was quiet in the previous act, Ceremony. You can kind of tell that she's worried about all these things, but really she hasn't had a lot of quiet moments since Odysseus kind of barged in on their life. So that's Kana's motivation. Nobody asked what Reina's motivation is, but I think it's kind of obvious that Wren kind of just lives for today. She's in the moment. She will have time to think about some of this stuff later on, but right now she's just so giddy and stoked to be going on an adventure that it has not really hit her yet how serious this situation is. She is so kind of carefree and very, in a way, irresponsible. Like, Kana is too much of a worrywart, reasonably so in this case, but Reina is kind of, they act as a foil to each other, because Kana's very, very conscious of what other people think. She's very motivated by receiving praise, versus Reina, who's just kind of off in her own world and has really yet to take this situation seriously, which is kind of why she's like singing the Beatles whenever they're getting ready to do their teleporting to the future. She's not taking this seriously at all. And even though she almost died twice now, she hasn't really had to suffer any consequences from her immaturity. And so for her, she's just going along for the ride. She's got Kana's back. They are still very good friends. Of course, she's not going to let Kana face this on her own. But she has yet to realize the severity of the situation. And of course, you know, it's obvious what Odysseus and Shimiko's goals are, is to kill fucking Keisuma. So, yeah. Let's see here. Last question. And then I'm gonna wrap up this video. Can Kana believe Rowena and the possessed Renshaw? Which was essentially Keisuma's words coming out of Renshaw's mouth. And as I kind of touched upon in the answer from the previous question, I will tell you that Rowena, although their actions don't really say that to us yet, Rowena, Renshaw, and Rowan are actually on the side of Orgonian. They were agents working for Karen Blue, who was kind of... Karen's going to be in a future act coming up pretty quick. But Karen has taken over. She's been voted in as like the head of the council after Kana disappeared, or aka was possessed by Keisuma. The responsibility of leading the resistance has kind of fallen to Karen, who's been like the most mature character out of the whole group anyhow. I really can't wait for her to be back in the comic. She's gonna have some more roles, and at some point I would like to expand upon her character. I need to figure out how I want to get it in here though, because I don't want to just do it slapdash. I do want her to be an important figure, but we are kind of following this other group at the moment, so I don't know if I want her to have like her own little spin-off thing or what. But Rowena was not lying, at least to her knowledge. Now, she doesn't know what was going on between Odysseus and Keisuma because she was not there, but she's basing things off of rumors, and having been, you know, they are in quote-unquote the service of Keisuma, forced into it, but they are not on Keisuma's side, and that just shows how arrogant Keisuma is, that she really doesn't care that she's surrounded herself with enemies. She doesn't need to care because she's so powerful that they, as we can see so far, have not really been able to do anything to her. And there's always this saying, you know, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Can anyone believe what Keisuma's saying? Keisuma, I'm not gonna get into exactly who or what she is yet. Right now we're under the assumption that she's just a succubus, that she's just a demon. It's more than that, and that's all I can say without like giving spoilers. But the nature of what she is not going to be lying at any point in what she says. However, you cannot necessarily believe anything that she has said, because while she's not telling lies, she is omitting facts. She is twisting and presenting things in a misleading manner intentionally. And so, while what she says appears to be the truth, you have to take it with a grain of salt, because clearly she has ulterior motives. The more she can make people question what is the truth, the more she makes people distrust one another, the weaker they are as a group, the weaker their unity, and the easier they are to separate and conquer. If you can keep people divided, then you can keep them from working together to overthrow your power. So in some ways you can't, you know, she's not going to be lying, but she's definitely going to be misrepresenting events that have taken place, if that makes sense. which this isn't really a question, but it also leads to, can we trust Yuli and what he says? And, you know, I'm gonna leave it at, he has things that he's definitely hiding, but when he says things, he's telling them from his point of view. And much like any person, when you only see things from your own side, it can sometimes fog your vision on what's the truth too. So there's a difference between him and Keisuma in that she is being deliberately misleading versus him. When he tells a tale, there may be things that he is misrepresenting, but it's only because that's how his faulty memory remembers it, or how his perspective, that's his perspective on what has happened, and he's not going to be lying intentionally unless it's something that he's keeping intentionally because he doesn't want to talk about it, which is definitely the case, and that'll be we'll dive into that later in the series, but there's a definite difference between Odysseus and Keisuma, and whether or not the girls should just take Odysseus's word blindly. The point is, no, you shouldn't just take anybody's word blindly. Hence why, even though they don't really have much of a choice in the matter, because Shimiko stepped in and said, yeah, you have a choice, but really they don't have a choice if you think about it. I mean, they do, but nothing's going to change if they don't take action and make a change. So, yeah, I hope that made sense. Wow, this video is going to be kind of long, but I haven't made a video in a while. Watch it if you like. I hope you all made it this far. To those of you who have, thank you so much. I love talking about my comic. If you can't tell, I made a whole channel to talk about it. But legit, seriously, y'all, thank you so much if you made it this far. I hope you found this video entertaining. I'm gonna try to work on my videos, but really this is kind of the form I like to work in. I want to work on my editing, make things a little more interesting, but to be honest, I don't know that I have time to do all that. So I'm gonna edit this video, try to make it kind of interesting. You zooming in, zooming out, just bare bones minimum. Mostly I'm hoping that if you're watching this or listening to this, that you're enjoying working on a project while I do these videos, doing your own thing. I've been listening to a lot of different videos recently and kind of sketching along or screen toning or inking. That's kind of what I do. That's why I am subscribed to so many different channels, is so that I can get a lot of different perspectives on art, on life, hear a lot of different voices, and I just kind of listen to that while I'm working on things. So while I realize this video is fairly long and perhaps the visual isn't necessarily all that interesting to you, hopefully it is. Hopefully if some of you out there read Dark Horse, it's free. You don't have to pay anything. I offer it for free if you want it. Down in the description are the links. But that's kind of where, I mean, I know I've kind of been saying that a couple times in some of my videos, but like really, you know, having taken a little bit of a break and reflecting on what I was trying to do this, do that, I do still want to like have tutorials, and I do have some reviews and stuff that I want to do, but I don't want this to become a burden or not fun anymore, because I'm realistic. I'm not going to blow up on YouTube. I am not going to make any money from this channel. Even if I get the opportunity to monetize, I have already made the decision that I do not want to be beholden to this company, to Google, to anyone. I don't want to have to curb what I'm saying, aside from like self-censorship that I feel is necessary, because people don't need to hear every single thought in your head. You don't even like necessarily retain every thought in your head. Sometimes just shit flies through and it's like, oh, that was a passing thought. Now I've moved along. I have a different opinion now. So yeah, that's what I want to do with this channel, because I want to keep it fun. And I'm hoping that in turn, like, y'all can, I keep saying y'all. Sorry, it's like, I like to say, I don't need to qualify that. But I'm hoping in turn that, you know, if you can hear in my voice that I have found something interesting to myself to talk about, I hope that it is also interesting to you and inspires you to work on whatever project, art, hobby, job, anything that you're doing. I hope that, you know, it helps get you through your work day or work or whatever. Words. They're hard to come by. Maybe I shouldn't stop the word of Wednesday. Anyway, it's getting really fucking hot in here. I have the air conditioner turned off and the door shut with the fan because it was making too much noise. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to the new subscribers. If you want to join, you know how to do that. You don't need me to walk you through like you're a toddler. If you want to support the struggle, there are also donation site links one time or subscriptions, whatever you want to do. That helps me out. I'll be here anyway, occasionally. Anyway, peace and love, fare you well, and keep on trucking.